The Keeley Dynatrem is a tremolo and reverb with a unique feature I've not seen anywhere else. The Dynatrem will respond to your playing by changing the rate or the depth depending on how hard you're picking. So this means if you set up the pedal to dynamically adjust the rate, the harder you pick, the faster the tremolo spins, and then as the note dies out, the tremolo sort of slows down and fades away into nothing. The same applies to depth. If you set it up to dynamically respond to your depth, the harder you pick, the deeper the tremolo pulses, and then if you let the note die off, then yeah, the depth dies off as well. It's a really cool effect that you can be really expressive with tremolo rather than just being rhythmic with it, and I'm a big fan of that. You can set this up to just be like, you know, a static harmonic tremolo if that's more your bag, but I get the feeling this is more meant to be used in the dynamic sense. The pedal also has a volume boost because there's an illusion for tremolo that when you turn it on you lose some volume, although I find that the volume boost actually adds a tiny bit of dirt as well. There's a built-in reverb which sounds fantastic, and honestly when I first got the pedal I spent like half an hour just playing blues chord progressions, letting the tremolo die out and taking advantage of the extra chirp the volume provides, and yeah, the really spacious reverb, and I had a really damn good time. Unfortunately, I don't think this pedal lives up to its potential. The ideas in it are fantastic, but they're kind of limited by the controls. You see, there isn't a separate sensitivity control, so the sensitivity of the dynamic rate or depth is tied to how much you increase the rate or the depth. Now that kind of means that to get a really sensitive and dynamic and fun response out the pedal, you need to have a lot of rate or depth, which it makes it kind of hard to be subtle with this pedal. I was kind of hoping I could get some like really interesting sort of flutter effects from this, where, you know, it would flutter a little bit on the pick attack and then sort of die off, but you couldn't really set up the pedal to do that. So basically whenever you use this pedal in a dynamic setting, you have to be okay with having a fairly dramatic tremolo effect. Also, the reverb control is also linked with the shape control of the tremolo, and I find that to be pretty short-sighted. It means to access some of the tremolo shapes, you need to deal with having a lot of reverb as well. You can't switch the reverb on or off, so I mean, yeah, the reverb sounds fantastic, but sometimes you don't actually want that reverb there. So look, I found that the pedal sounded fantastic. All the sounds that were in it were great, but due to the controls on the pedal, I could never really get it to do what I wanted it to do. I hope one day Keeley revisit this pedal and do a different control scheme. I think if there was a separate sensitivity control, that would be really helpful. Being able to turn the reverb on and off would also be really helpful. And let's face it, any sort of tremolo kind of needs a tap tempo. It's too useful of a feature for tremolo. I still recommend giving this pedal a shot. The sounds in the pedal itself are absolutely fantastic, and I'm not lying when I said when I first got it I spent half an hour just doing chords and having a great time. It is a fantastic sounding pedal, and just because I couldn't find a setting that gave me joy doesn't mean that you won't find a setting that gives you joy, so it's really worth a look. But I also really hope that Keeley give it another look one day and maybe put out a version 2 someday.